Hiya, how are you?
Hi, Polly. I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Right, well, we'll get started then. So, do you want to just tell me a little bit about yourself, about kind of like what you do and how you've got to where you are now?
Yeah, sure, Polly. So I'm Paul Barnes. I'm CEO and co-founder of Ovia. We're a SaaS security business. I've been in the industry for about 20 years, and so my journey's really started in a very much a technical role, more on the engineering side, and then I moved into sales and in product management, and then kind of landed in a startup again because I started in a startup and grew that business to a very large one, and then started again.
Uh-huh, great. That sounds good. And so it sounds like you've got quite a lot of experience in like different areas of of the industry. How has that kind of shaped your approach at Avira and how has it kind of made the company what it is today?
Yeah, so as I'm kind of hinted at, I started in a technical role and then moved into quite the opposite, into a sales role, and then along the way did product management, and it was during that kind of doing all those variety of roles really gives you kind of a great grasp on how to run a business, and that was kind of a natural evolution for my career was to have a go at it myself, and so I think that's kind of one of the key tips I'd always give someone is around just being open to trying something new. I was pretty introvert, thought I was going to stick in a technical role, and then I think my CEO at the time was like, "Hey, you talk a lot, so we're going to put you in front of customers, and when you speak to customers, try and figure out what they want from our product." And that was kind of where I led into product management.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. That's really nice to hear that it kind of brought you out of your shell and stuff. Do you feel like you're a bit more outgoing now than you were, or?
Yeah, I think there's there's an element of a show which you put on in front of customers,
Awesome.
but yeah, I think it has helped. It gives you the confidence.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things which you often, as I've kind of coached and mentored quite a few kind of folks in early in their careers, just kind of getting out of your comfort zone. It does pay dividends in the long run.
Nice, that's good advice. Okay, cool. So obviously you've been in the industry for quite a long time now. What do you think is, or what do you see as kind of like the biggest or most increasingly emerging threats that's a cybersecurity business faces today?
Yeah, great question. So I started out in endpoint security. So we had an antivirus back in the day. So early 2000s, I think that was kind of the main threat where people were downloading like a piece of software and they might have an exploit or they might have some malware attached to it. And that was really the kind of primary cybersecurity defense. And there's always network security and things like that. But over the years, it's really shifted. Kind of really need to follow where customers' data is, or so whether customers or your own data. And that's really where our focus is more on the cloud side. I think one of the things which we've noticed, and as part of my journey, I've run product for several companies, and one of the things which I noticed was that the threats had moved, the proportion had moved more to the cloud. So one of the statistics we use is for every endpoint threat, so any threats which hit your kind of PC, laptop servers, or your network, we see six threats in the cloud on your SaaS app. So I think that's really where the adversary, the attackers, are really focusing is on the cloud side. So they're trying to get access to as much data at once. They're trying to crack into a network and pull data off each device, or do a ransomware attack. It's getting harder and harder, and you don't see as many of those, but you certainly see a lot of you know data breaches from a cloud perspective.
Okay, cool. So that kind of like takes me to my next question, I guess, which is, can you share any insights into any new trends or technologies in cyber that professionals or like aspiring professionals should be aware of?
Yeah, I think the obvious one is AI, and so that's come on quite a lot. So as there's two sides to it. So from an adversarial perspective, AI is definitely being used, and we see that all the time. But from let's say from a defense perspective, that's where I think the barrier for entry for anyone starting a career in cybersecurity is much lower.
Hmm.
So whereas before you'd have to be like back in the days, if you want to get into antivirus, you had to be a reverse engineer. You had to dissect binaries, files, and understand where things are in memory and things like that. But as I kind of mentioned, the threats kind of evolved, but also how to kind of understand threats is certainly kind of taken a leap forward, and that's where like leaning on machine learning and AI is really kind of helping. So when I say the barrier is lowered, it's you see this at all sides of the business. So when you run a cybersecurity business, you've got the technical guys which are trying to understand a threat and trying to automate as much as possible. That's AIs and machine learning really help there to kind of find the needle in the haystack. So all that kind of all that time which was spent before to kind of write manual rules and things like that, that's kind of now it's not gone away. There's still some need for that stuff, but the AI's really helping there to kind of again find the needle in the haystack. And then you look at some other aspects of when you're running a business. It's like on the sales and marketing side. I think that's where AI is really helping, like for content creation and for lead gen and things like that. So that's great. But then on the converse of that, so I mentioned the adversary. So there's all new techniques which we're seeing used. I think everyone would have seen deep fakes and things like that, but they're getting more advanced. And these are normally done, deep fakes are normally done on popular people. But what we're seeing, and there's examples out there in the wild today, is like CFOs, like, financial directors, people get snippets of their voice or
Yeah.
get an image off off the website, and the kind of AI avatars these days are really convincing. The
I
voice
know.
kind of cloning and things like that. You only need like there's probably someone could attack my network with just my voice for 5 seconds. It's like it's so easy to do, and it's going to get harder and harder to distinguish that. And that's where the innovation needs to come in from,
Mhm.
folks. So thinking ahead, and that's why anyone starting a career is like, yeah, you'll go through the certifications, you get the base kind of knowledge, and it's important to do those things. So I think that's depending on where you want to go in your career, but like that foundational knowledge is good to have. You can't just leapfrog and lean on AI to begin with, but getting that grounded, but then thinking ahead of where the attackers are going. And so there's great resources out there. I mean, number of forums and follow LinkedIn folks which you can follow, and loads of YouTube videos on this. And so just try and think about like where the attackers are going to be going and how to kind of potentially get ahead of that. And it's really hard. It's always a cat and mouse game, but that's where your effort's the best place, in my opinion.
Okay, great. So I'm kind of hearing you say that key skills would be stuff like innovation and forward thinking, and obviously having like that base knowledge that you gain through kind of certifications and stuff. Um, what other skills would you say are fundamental to pursuing a career in cybersecurity? Because obviously a lot of our students are career changers, so they're coming from an industry where they're completely unaware of the cybersecurity industry. So, yeah,
Yeah.
what do you think? What skills or traits do you think are essential for anyone looking to succeed?
Yeah, I think I'm a pretty good example of someone who's come out from a different role, different industry. I wasn't in cyber before. I was doing something completely different, coming out of university. It's more of a generic businessy type degree. I did information systems, and yeah, it's kind of one of those things where I think it's that curiosity, the willingness to learn other areas. It really will bode well. So if you've come from a different side where communication's key, and I guess it depends on what the candidate wants to do. If you're happy to kind of stick with an area of like, hey, like I want to dissect malware, I want to just be the guy who categorizes threats, and that's me. That's kind of one career path, and it's a little simpler, I guess. You do your certifications, you kind of follow the trends, you follow the adversaries and things like that. But if you're looking to get into more of like a leadership role, or just to kind of try a bit more variety role, it is really important to just kind of have those softer skills to be able to communicate and collaborate. Like no one in our company's kind of an expert on everything, and so we
Yeah.
lean on each other. So we're a small company. We've got 12 folks. We're a startup, and yeah, like I said, no one's an expert in everything. So it's kind of don't feel overwhelmed. Like you see all these folks out there which are experts in the field, but they need other folks behind them to kind of do
Yeah.
that stuff. So especially you see a load of thought leaders out there but they've got an army of folks helping them out. Like,
Yeah.
hey, here's some new research which we've done, or here's how to position this new threat from a marketing perspective. So, like, we have people in our team which have never done cybersecurity before, but they're great at interacting with people to understand requirements, and so that's great. And it's often, for me as a kind of a leader in a cyber company, I don't always want cyber people in the company. I want people who take a fresh look at things, and the best candidate we had was someone who was really really curious, and he asked so many questions about why do you do it this way? Like,
Hmm.
wouldn't it make more sense to do it this way? Because and he's like, yeah, you're right. And so he leads our UX, and it's like, this has allowed us to have like a really simple kind of experience in our product and our services, so anyone can really pick it up. So there's a variety of things there, but it's just that curiosity and ability to communicate.
Oh, okay, great. So that it feels like for people that are just starting out in the industry, I feel like that kind of advice makes it feel like quite an attainable goal, which is great. And so obviously earlier you touched a little bit on networking and connecting with people in the industry, or kind of staying updated through forums and stuff like that. Have you got any more tips or advice for our students on that area? Like, how important
Yeah.
is networking, or what are some kind of effective ways to connect with professionals in the industry?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn's probably the best place to start and just get following people.
Mhm.
And I think, like, here in the UK, we have several cyber conferences and technology conferences, which a student's going to attend for free. And so just walk the floors, just read, sit on some of the panel sessions or the keynotes, and just kind of soak it up and see if it's right for you. So don't kind of like say, I know it's a shiny thing. Cybersecurity is certainly something in demand, and we don't have enough professionals in it. But just kind of start with that. Follow folks, and YouTube's a great asset as well. So a lot of these, if you want to go double click into some of these thought leaders kind of research, is kind of interesting to kind of see how things work. And I think it's one of the coolest thing about cyber is that you are kind of stopping bad guys from doing other bad things. So as we kind of stop adversaries from maybe getting some data or money through kind of wire fraud or whatever, that's all kind of helping their other kind of criminal activities. And so it's really good feeling once you're in the industry, knowing that you're doing something good.
Yeah.
And the kind of knock-on effects of your work can be seen. So that's great.
Nice. Yeah, that's really nice. Must feel like really rewarding, that kind of thing. So, for anyone looking to get into that area, in your experience, obviously it's different for everyone, but how valuable would you say certifications are for cyber professionals? And why or why not do you think they are crucial for career progression once you're in the industry?
Yeah, I think I'm a good example. I don't have cyber certifications. I have technical certification. I did a degree, and I've led kind of big product teams, and the businesses which we've built have kind of sold for over $1 billion. So it's it depends on what you want to do. If you want to be an analyst, if you want to be the threat researcher, that's absolutely necessary. If you want to become like CISO down the line to do compliance and things like that, it's absolutely necessary. But
Hmm.
there's a lot of different areas, especially on the private vendor side. I think like whether you want to sell cybersecurity products, if you want to market them, you want to product manage, you don't so much need certifications there. That's more on the communication on the side of things. So it really depends. So I think it's first kind of finding through following folks on LinkedIn or on YouTube, getting familiar with the different areas of cyber, because every business needs cyber in some shape or form. And so there's just a variety of roles within that category. It doesn't mean you have to be the guy who's detecting the threats and stopping the adversary. There's just a lot of supporting roles around there. So once you kind of figure out where what suits you and where you can see yourself working in for a good 5-10 years, then kind of attach yourself to the relevant kind of certifications if it is in an analyst role and things like that. And there's, like I said, there's a load of workshops, local workshops. There's a load of kind of conferences which you can sit in and just get a good feel of
Cool.
what's out there.
Nice. Sounds like there's quite a lot of sort of roles or quite a lot of demand for cybersecurity experts or people trying to get into the industry. And we know that there's quite a big skills gap. What do you think are like the key areas for growth in the industry, kind of in the future for people that are looking to get into the industry?
I think we said it before. AI is gonna help us and also hinder us in like being able to defend against it. So I think the skills gap. I think it's the fundamentals are important. So I'm not like understand the basics of networking and even kind of how operating system works are critical and all like the certifications like CISPA are kind of good all round certifications. So, but I think it's like we don't have great coverage as an industry for what's coming.
Hmm.
It's moving so fast,
Yeah.
and we've kind of released a beast, if you like, with AI.
Hmm.
It can do a lot of stuff, and we've kind of seen that firsthand. But we need to get ahead of that, and so
Yeah.
I know the government's very keen to support businesses who are getting ahead of that, and so there's a number of programs there. But I think that's kind of where the skills gap will be on kind of figuring out what to do with AI from a
Yeah.
positive and an adversarial prevention perspective.
Uh-huh. Okay, cool. And what's if someone was looking to get into a role at, say, your level, or someone was looking to progress to a role at your level, what kind of advice would you give them in terms of being able to progress, or what you can do when you actually get there?
Yeah, I think it's to become like to run a startup or to do it successfully, and we're not fully there yet. I
Hmm.
think it's a journey. It's a long journey. Like I've bounced around from several roles to kind of figure out that this was the thing for me. It's not for everyone. Being a leader is not always great. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. So it's one of those things. Seeing if it's right for you. But I think it is that I mentioned it before, just that getting the variety, that 360 of roles is kind of key. So if you are product management's actually probably the best role that I would recommend. So especially from the private perspective, like we're a vendor, we're selling software. That's probably the best role you can have, in my opinion, to kind of really get a 360 of the business without actually being the CEO, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that makes total
Yeah.
sense.
But
Also, for someone with such like a there's obviously like a lot of pressure and stress involved in being a CEO, but you seem like so relaxed about everything, which is like obviously nice to see. And I guess have you got any tips about how to kind of like keep your head above water and like how to maintain your sort of well-being?
Yeah, I think it's having an amazing team around me is kind of lowers my stress levels. If I was doing this solo,
Hmm.
um, yeah, it'd be extremely difficult.
Yeah,
I think having that network of mentors and advisors and a great team, which are kind of you can trust and they do their thing and it's just that's what really helps. I think
yeah,
having like a lot of physical exercise breaks is really important. There's a lot of startup founders which just kind of neglect the mental, the well
yeah,
being, and the health, and so you just got to strike that balance. But it
yeah,
is, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it for being a startup founder for everyone. It's something where you need to build a network of people to increase your chances of success. It's
yeah,
very
of
difficult
course.
to kind of come out of university, and I did it. My first business out of university was a wireless Wi-Fi business, and I had zero experience. I just thought it was a cool idea, but it was extremely difficult to get that off the ground because I hadn't
Yeah,
had that 360 knowledge and
yeah,
experience of different roles, functions down from finance, legal, and all these different things. It was extremely overwhelming, and then I kind of took a step back and took a proper job, if you like, and then
definitely.
learned those skills along the way. And I'm now coming up to 20 years later from university, and now is probably a good time to do it. I thought so.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
And I felt well. My last question was, what's like the one piece of advice you would give, or what's the one thing you wish you knew at the beginning? But I feel like you've kind of touched on a few things. But do you want to just give me like in a nutshell, What advice would you give to yourself like 20 years ago?
I know you say I'm look relaxed. I think I'd say be less stressed about certain things. Things if you just kind of keep being curious and trying and talking. Networking is incredibly important, especially when you become a leader. I think just kind of get those connections and kind of one of the changes I've made over the years is to kind of try and give a lot more back than um, what I receive. So and those things, not that I'm looking for them to pay dividends, but they do. I think it's kind of really pays dividends and like mentally, like yeah, you're helping people along the way. So for anyone who's starting a career, if you kind of share your experience with others in the same boat and kind of help each other through it, then you never know. Like you might be starting to start with them in 15 years or 10 years later because like you've kind of helped each other out and along the way. So I think I think I touched on quite a few tips around
Yeah.
being inquisitive and being a good communicator and just
Mhm.
really being sure this is the right industry. We definitely need more people in this industry,
Mhm.
but it does burn people out a
Yeah,
lot.
of
So
course.
I think that's one of the stresses of being a cyber analyst. It can be very challenging. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice. Okay. Well, I'll let you get
all
off
right.
because I know you've got another meeting, but thank you so much. It's been
Oh,
super
pleasure.
helpful. So, yeah, great.
Cheers, Polly. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.